The mining moon was cold and dark. Princess pressed her hand against the tunnel wall, trying to stop the shaking. Blood dripped from the burn on her side where the plasma blast had hit her. Her guards were dead. All 12 of them, killed in the ambush just an hour ago. She could hear them coming. The soldiers were searching the mining tunnels, their heavy boots echoing through the corridors. They wanted her dead. Her diplomatic convoy had been betrayed, attacked before they could reach neutral space. Now she was alone on this forgotten moon, wounded and hunted. Limped deeper into the maintenance tunnels. Her people, they were known across the galaxy as warriors. But she had no weapon, no armor, and no way to call for help. They had jammed all communications. Even if she could fight, there were too many of them. She heard voices ahead and froze. More soldiers. She was trapped. Then a hand grabbed her arm and pulled her sideways into a dark alcove. Tried to scream, but another hand covered her mouth. Quiet, a voice whispered in badly accented, "I'm human. I'm going to help you." His eyes adjusted to the darkness. The man holding her was shorter than any, with dark hair and brown eyes. He wore the plain clothes of a mining colony worker. A human. She had heard of them, the species from the small planet called Earth, but had never met one before. "Let me see your wound," the human said, already pulling out a medical kit. His hands moved quickly, spraying something on her burn that made the pain fade. "I'm Minyu. I work security here. We need to move now. Can you walk?" "Why are you helping me?" asked. It made no sense. Humans were not part of the Empire. He had no reason to risk his life for her. "Because you need help," Minyu said simply, as if it was the most obvious thing in the world. "Come on." He led her through a maze of service tunnels that even they didn't know about. Minyu moved with confidence, checking corners before advancing, always listening. Noticed he carried only a small pistol and some tools. Not weapons of war, but he moved like a soldier anyway. They reached a junction where 3 tunnels met. Minyu stopped and pulled out a device. "They've got the main outpost surrounded," he said, looking at the screen. 20, maybe 30 soldiers. We can't fight our way out." "Then we die here," said. It was the way, death before dishonor. "No," Minyu said. "We don't die here. I've got a plan." He worked quickly, pulling mining charges from a storage locker and setting them in different tunnels. He programmed false signals into the mining equipment computers, making it look like people were moving in areas where no one was. He created chaos from nothing. "What are you doing?" asked. "Making them look the wrong way," Minyu explained. "When the charges blow, they'll think we're escaping through the north tunnels. We'll actually go south to the cargo bay." "That's dishonest. That's not how warriors fight." Minyu looked at her with an expression she couldn't read. "I'm not trying to fight them. I'm trying to survive. There's a difference." The charges exploded right on schedule. Alarms blared throughout the outpost. Minyu grabbed his hand and ran. They were almost to the cargo bay when Minyu suddenly stopped. He was looking at a collapsed section of tunnel. Could hear voices on the other side, crying for help. "There are people trapped," Minyu said. "We have to go," said. "They will be here soon." "There are 3 miners in there. I can get them out." "You'll die trying. They're not worth your life." Minyu turned to look at her and she saw anger flash in his eyes. "Every life is worth something. Wait here." He didn't wait for her response. He climbed over the rubble and disappeared into the collapsed tunnel, stood there, shocked. He was throwing away their escape for 3 common workers. It was madness. She heard the soldiers coming closer. She should run, leave the foolish human to his fate and save herself. That was logical. That was what any noble would do. But she didn't move. 5 minutes later, Minyu emerged, helping 2 miners climb over the rubble. Another miner, a woman, was being carried by Minyu on his back. They all looked terrified. "The cargo bay now," Minyu shouted. They ran together. They had discovered the trick and were flooding back toward their location. Plasma fire lit up the tunnels behind them. The cargo bay had 1 small hauler ship, designed for short trips to the orbital station. Minyu got everyone inside and jumped into the pilot's seat. The engines roared to life just as soldiers burst into the bay. Plasma bolts hit the ship's hull as they lifted off. Minyu flew like a madman, dodging fire and debris. The hauler wasn't made for combat, but he pushed it hard, weaving through the mining structures as fighters scrambled to pursue. "Hold on," Minyu yelled. He flew straight at one of the mining platforms, waiting until the last second before pulling up sharply. The fighter following them wasn't as quick. It crashed into the platform in a ball of fire. They broke atmosphere and headed for open space. They had bigger ships, but Minyu knew how to hide. He dove into an asteroid field, using the rocks for cover, slowly making distance. Finally, after an hour of tense flying, Minyu set a course for neutral space. He let out a long breath and looked back at his passengers. "Everyone okay?" he asked. The three miners nodded, still in shock, just stared at him. "You almost got us all killed," she said. "But I didn't," Minyu replied. "We're all alive, that's what matters." "Those miners were beneath your concern. Why risk everything for them?" Minyu looked confused by the question. "Because they're people. They have families, lives, dreams, same as you, same as me." Had no response to that. In society, everyone knew their place. The nobles ruled, the warriors fought, the workers served. Life had value based on station. But this human seemed to think every life had equal worth. It was the strangest idea she had ever heard. The three miners transferred to a transport ship at the neutral station. They thanked Minyu over and over. He just smiled and told them to get home safe. Then it was just and Minyu alone on the small hauler, beginning the long journey back to space. "It will take 3 weeks to reach my," said. "You'll be compensated for your time." "I don't want payment," Minyu said. "I just want to make sure you get home alive." Looked at this strange human who had saved her life for no reason, who had risked everything for people he barely knew, who fought without honor but somehow still won. She realized she didn't understand humans at all. And for the first time in her life, Princess wanted to learn. The cargo hauler was not built for comfort. It had 2 small sleeping quarters, a cramped cockpit, and a common area barely large enough for 2 people. And Minyu would be trapped in this tiny space together for 3 weeks. On the second day, tried to establish proper protocol. "You should address me as Your Highness or Princess," she informed Minyu during their meal. Minyu looked up from his food. "I'm not one of your subjects. I'll call you and you can call me Minyu. That's how it works where I'm from." "That's disrespectful." "That's equality." They stared at each other. Finally, looked away first. She was starting to realize that human stubbornness was a real thing. The argument started small. Minyu asked about culture and tried to explain the caste system. In her empire, everyone had their place. The royal family ruled because they were strongest and the warrior class protected because they were bred for combat. The worker class served because they were made for labor. "Made for labor," Minyu repeated. "You mean they're slaves?" "No, they're workers. They're happy in their role." "How do you know they're happy? Do you ask them?" Frowned. "Why would I ask them? It's their nature to serve." Minyu put down his cup. "On Earth, we used to think like that. Some people said certain groups were naturally meant to serve others. We called it slavery and we fought wars to end it. Some of our worst history came from thinking some lives matter less than others." "Your world sounds chaotic." "It is," Minyu admitted, "but at least everyone gets a chance to choose their own path." These conversations happened every day. Found herself getting angry, then confused, then thoughtful. Minyu's ideas were strange, but he spoke with such certainty. And he had saved those miners. He truly believed what he said. The ship's translation AI struggled with Minyu's way of speaking. He used phrases that made no sense in. "We need to bite the bullet and fix that engine," he said once. "Bite what bullet? Why would we bite ammunition?" asked. Minyu laughed. It's just an expression. It means we need to do something difficult. Why not just say that? Because English is a weird language. Despite her frustration, found herself laughing. She couldn't remember the last time she had laughed. Royal life was serious, formal, controlled. Minyu was none of those things. He told her about Earth, a world so different from anything she knew. Earth had hundreds of countries, thousands of cultures, millions of different ways of living. Humans fought each other, but they also helped each other. They created art and music and stories. They felt things deeply, loved without logic, and sacrificed for strangers. We're not very smart sometimes, Minyu said. We make terrible decisions. We fight over stupid things. But when it matters, when someone needs help, humans will cross oceans to save them. That's irrational, said. Yeah, Minyu agreed, but it's also beautiful. On the 10th day, everything changed. A patrol ship found them. Minyu tried to run, but the hauler was too slow. The patrol ship fired, hitting their engine. They were dead in space. They're going to board us, Minyu said, grabbing his pistol. Get to the escape pod. I won't run again. There are 6 soldiers on that ship. We can't win this fight. Then we die fighting. Minyu looked at her and she saw something shift in his expression. Okay, he said. We fight smart. Follow my lead. He had her hide in the airlock while he pretended to surrender. When the soldiers came aboard, Minyu talked to them, hands raised. He seemed calm, defeated. Then he dropped to the floor. Hit the airlock controls. The sudden decompression pulled 2 soldiers out into space. Minyu shot a third before the soldier could react. The fight was brutal and close. Minyu fought like he did everything else, using every advantage, every trick. But there were too many. A warrior hit Minyu with an energy blade, cutting deep into his shoulder. Minyu screamed and fell. Something happened inside. She saw Minyu falling, bleeding, dying because he had helped her. All the anger, all the fear, all the confusion of the past 10 days exploded. She killed the warrior with her bare hands, using techniques she had learned as a child. Then she killed the other 2. When the fighting ended, Minyu was on the floor, bleeding heavily. The wound was bad. Without treatment, he would die in minutes. Had never performed medical care before. That was for doctors, for healers, for lower castes. But there were no doctors here, only her. She dragged Minyu to the medical supplies, her hands shaking. She had watched doctors work, had studied anatomy as part of her education. She could do this. She had to. The next hour was the longest of her life. She sealed the wound, gave Minyu medicine to stop infection, monitored his vital signs. Her hands were covered in his blood. Red human blood, so similar to her own blue blood, but somehow different. She got him stable barely, but he was unconscious and his body was fighting a fever. For 3 days, Minyu lay in bed, burning with fever. Stayed by his side, changing bandages, giving him water, monitoring his condition. She didn't sleep. She couldn't. During his fever, Minyu talked. He wasn't awake, wasn't aware, but words spilled out anyway. Mom, he whispered. Mom, I'm sorry. I couldn't save them. I tried, but they were already dead. The colony was burning and I couldn't save them all. Listened, piecing together the story. Minyu had been a soldier, part of something called the Earth Defense Force. There had been a battle, a colony attacked. He had tried to save civilians, but most had died. His entire team had died. Should have been me, Minyu mumbled. Should have been me, not them. And then clearer, sadder. I miss you, Mom. I miss you so much. You always knew what to do. You always helped people. I'm trying to be like you, but it's so hard. He talked about his mother, a woman named. She had been a doctor, someone who spent her life healing people. She had died when Minyu was young, an accident that he still didn't understand. Everything he was, everything he believed came from her. Every life saved ripples outward, Minyu whispered, repeating words his mother must have said. Every life matters, Minyu. Remember that. felt something break inside her chest. This human, this strange man who saved her, was broken too. He was running from his own pain, trying to honor a mother he lost, trying to make meaning from tragedy. On the fourth day, Minyu opened his eyes. He looked confused, weak, but alive. "Hey," he said, his voice rough. "Don't move," ordered. "You were badly hurt." "Did we win?" "We survived. That's what you taught me matters." Minyu smiled weakly. "You're learning." Sat beside his bed. "While you were fevered, you talked about your mother, about." Minyu's expression closed. "I don't remember." "You said she taught you that every life matters, that saving one person ripples outward." "She did teach me that." "My mother taught me that power matters, that strength is everything, that leaders must be hard, cold, calculating." Looked at her hands, still stained with Minyu's blood. "I never thought about whether she was right." "And now?" "Now I think," struggled for words. "I think your people love without reason. You fight without calculation. You save lives that won't benefit you. I thought these were weaknesses." "And now?" Minyu asked again. Met his eyes. "Now I think I was wrong." They sat in silence, two people from different worlds, learning to understand each other. The hauler limped toward space. It took another week, but they made it. During that week, everything changed between them. They weren't just passenger and rescuer anymore. They were friends. And friendship, was learning, was something worth more than all the power in the galaxy. Prime was beautiful. The capital world of the Empire gleamed like a jewel against the stars. Towers of crystal and metal reached toward the sky. Ships moved in perfect patterns through the atmosphere. Everything was ordered, controlled, magnificent. Minyu had never felt more out of place in his life. The royal guard met them at the landing platform. 50 warriors in ceremonial armor surrounded the hauler before Minyu could even power down the engines. He looked at. "Is this normal?" he asked. "I don't know," admitted. She looked worried. The guards separated them immediately. Was taken to the royal palace. Minyu was escorted, firmly but not roughly, to a transport. No one would tell him where they were going. The transport took him deep into the palace complex, to a wing he later learned was reserved for foreign dignitaries. His room was large, comfortable, and impossible to leave. The door was locked from the outside. Minyu was a prisoner. The first interrogation came within hours. 3 members of the royal guard questioned him for 6 hours straight. Where was he from? How did he find the princess? Why did he help her? What did he want in return? Minyu answered honestly. He was from Earth. He had been working at the mining colony. He helped because she needed help. He wanted nothing. They didn't believe him. The questions came again the next day and the day after that. Different guards, same questions. They were looking for something, some proof that he was lying. A human couldn't have saved the princess when 12 elite warriors failed. It didn't make sense. He must be a spy or an assassin or playing some longer game. On the 4th day, different visitors came. Scientists, doctors. They studied Minyu like an interesting specimen. They scanned him, took samples, asked endless questions about human biology and psychology. "Fascinating," one scientist said, looking at his brain scans. "The emotional centers are much larger than expected, and these readings suggest highly irrational decision-making patterns." "I'm sitting right here," Minyu said. "Yes, yes," the scientist replied absently. "Tell me, is it true your species forms emotional bonds with individuals outside your genetic family?" "You mean friendship? Yeah, that's pretty common." The scientists exchanged looks. But what's the evolutionary advantage? Why waste resources on non-related individuals? Minyu thought about trying to explain, then gave up. You wouldn't understand. The only bright spot in his imprisonment was, she came to visit him every day, always sneaking past the guards somehow. She brought him things from Earth that she ordered through human trade channels. Coffee, mostly. real Earth coffee that cost a fortune this far from home. You're going to bankrupt your planet's treasury buying me coffee, Minyu joked during one visit. I'm fourth in line for the throne, said. I can afford coffee. They talked for hours during these visits, told him about the political situation. Her brother, Prince, was angry that she had been saved by a human. It made the military look weak. It raised questions about why the guards had failed. He wants you gone, said. Sent back to Earth with a payment to keep you quiet about what happened. Would that be so bad? Minyu asked. I could use the money and I miss Earth. Looked hurt, you want to leave. I didn't say that. Minyu met her eyes. But I'm a prisoner here, a comfortable prisoner but still a prisoner. Your people hate me. Not all of them, I don't hate you. You're the only one. The truth was more complicated. His mother, Empress, had not visited Minyu at all. She had sent a formal message thanking him for returning her daughter and nothing more. Said her mother was considering the political implications. What does that mean? Minyu asked. It means she's trying to figure out how to use this situation to benefit the Empire. That's how she thinks. Everything is politics. Even her own daughter being alive. Especially that. Minyu couldn't imagine thinking like that. His own mother would have moved planets to keep him safe. She would have thanked anyone who helped him, regardless of their species or status. He told more about during those visits, about how she had been a medical researcher, working on cures for diseases, how she had volunteered at free clinics on weekends, helping people who couldn't afford doctors, how she had taught Minyu that every person deserved dignity and care. She sounds wonderful, said. She died saving someone else actually. There was an accident at her research facility, an explosion. She could have run, but she went back for a colleague who was trapped. Minyu smiled sadly. That's where I get it from, I guess. The stupid, heroic stuff. It's not stupid. It got her killed. It also saved that person's life. And who knows what they did with that life? Maybe they helped others. Maybe they had children who grew up to do great things. Your mother's choice rippled outward just like she taught you. Minyu looked at, surprised. She really had been listening to everything he said. On the 10th day of his imprisonment, came to visit with urgent news. She had been investigating the ambush on her convoy, digging through military records and communications logs. What she found was disturbing. Someone betrayed us, she said, keeping her voice low. They knew our exact route, our security codes, everything. It was an inside job. Any idea who? The list is small. Only senior members of the royal court had access to that information. Looked sick. It might be my own brother. Why would he want you dead? Politics. With me gone, he moves up in succession. He gets more power, more influence. Paced the room. I can't prove it yet. But if I'm right, you're in danger too. You're the only witness to what happened. If arranged the ambush, he might try to silence you. Minyu had been in dangerous situations before, but this was different. This wasn't combat. This was politics, a game he didn't understand and couldn't fight. What do we do? He asked. I don't know yet, but I'm not letting anything happen to you. Grabbed his hand. You saved my life. I'm going to protect yours. That night Minyu couldn't sleep. He stood by the window, looking out at the alien city below. He thought about Earth, about his old life, about the choice that had brought him here. If he could go back, would he still save? Would he still risk everything for a stranger? Yes, without hesitation, yes. Because that's what had taught him. That's what being human meant. The next morning brought news that changed everything. The Dominion had launched a massive invasion of the border worlds. Dozens of colonies were under attack. Millions of lives were at risk. The war had begun. Within hours, Empress summoned Minyu to the throne room. He was escorted by guards, still not free but no longer a secret prisoner. The entire royal court was assembled, hundreds of nobles in ceremonial dress. Minyu, in his simple clothes, felt like a stain on a perfect painting. Empress sat on a throne that seemed carved from a single piece of diamond. She was tall, elegant, cold. She looked nothing like human Minyu, the Empress said, her voice carrying across the vast room. You rescued my daughter using methods unfamiliar to military doctrine. Our warriors are trained in honor, in strength, in direct combat. You used deception, environment, and unconventional thinking. Yes, Your Majesty, Minyu said, not sure where this was going. Our forces are being slaughtered they fight without honor using total war tactics. Our traditional methods are failing. The Empress leaned forward. I am told humans excel at this kind of warfare. Is this true? Minyu thought about Earth's history. The world wars, the guerrilla campaigns, the special operations forces. Yes, he said quietly, we're very good at war. Then I have a proposition for you. Train a special unit in human warfare tactics. Help us defeat the invasion. In return, you will be granted safe passage to Earth with compensation sufficient to live comfortably for the rest of your life. It was everything Minyu wanted: a way home, freedom, money. But there was one problem. I have a condition, Minyu said. The court gasped. No one made conditions to the Empress. You dare bargain? Asked, her voice dangerous. Princess trained with the military. She knows combat. She should be part of the team. Absolutely not, Prince spoke up. A royal cannot. I accept Minyu's condition, his voice rang out. She stepped forward from the crowd. I will be part of this team. Mother and daughter stared at each other. Finally, Empress nodded. Very well, you have your deal, human. Train our warriors, win this war, and then you can go home. Minyu looked at, who smiled at him. Going home was what he wanted. So why did the thought make him feel sad? The training facility was deep in the mountains, far from the capital city. Minyu stood in front of 30 warriors, all elite soldiers, all looking at him with barely hidden contempt. Good morning, Minyu said. I'm going to teach you how humans fight. It's going to be uncomfortable. You're going to hate it, but it will keep you alive. We are warriors of the Empire, one soldier said, stepping forward. He was tall, muscular, covered in scars. We do not need lessons from a primitive. Minyu recognized the challenge. What's your name? Captain. Okay, Captain, attack me. Smiled, it was not a friendly expression. You wish to be humiliated. I wish to make a point. Moved fast, incredibly fast. His combat skills were perfect, textbook technique. Minyu dodged the first strike barely. The second strike caught him in the ribs and he felt something crack. The third strike never landed. Minyu had thrown dirt in his eyes. While was blind and cursing, Minyu swept his legs and put him on the ground. He pressed his training knife against his throat. In a real fight, you'd be dead, Minyu said. Not because I'm stronger or faster, because I was willing to fight dirty. The other warriors muttered angrily. This was dishonorable. This was not how battles were won. Minyu helped up. They don't care about honor, they care about winning. If you want to beat them, you need to think differently. This is shameful, another warrior said. We are not cowards. There's a difference between cowardice and strategy, Minyu countered. A coward runs from every fight. A strategist runs from fights they can't win, so they can fight again another day. Stepped forward, she had been watching from the side. He's right. They are winning because we're predictable. We fight with honor while they fight to kill. We need to adapt. You agree with this? Asked her. I'm alive because of this, said simply. When they ambushed my convoy, honor didn't save me. Minyu did. The training began in earnest. Minyu taught them everything he knew. How to use the environment as a weapon. How to set ambushes and traps. How to retreat strategically instead of fighting to the death. How to deceive, confuse, and overwhelm the enemy. Most warriors resisted. This went against everything they believed, but a few listened. Captain was one of them. I lost my entire battalion 3 months ago, told Minyu one evening. Ambush. They lured us into a canyon and collapsed it. 200 warriors dead. I survived because I was scouting ahead. I keep thinking if I had known what you're teaching us, maybe I could have saved them. Maybe, Minyu said. Or maybe you'd be dead too. War is ugly. There are no perfect answers. But your way gives us a chance. That's all I'm offering, a chance. Threw herself into training with intensity that surprised even Minyu. She was royal, pampered, trained in combat more as tradition than necessity, but she pushed herself harder than any other warrior. During close combat practice, she fought Minyu directly. She was good, fast, and strong, but Minyu had spent years in actual combat. He won barely. Again demanded. They fought again, and again, and again. By the 10th match was bleeding from a split lip and her body was covered in bruises, but she was learning, she was adapting. Why are you pushing yourself so hard? Minyu asked during a break. Because next time someone comes to kill me, I don't want to need rescuing, said. I want to save myself, and I want to save others. Minyu saw his mother in her at that moment. That same determination to be strong enough to protect people. 3 weeks into training, they got their first real mission. An attack force was holding a colony hostage. Traditional rescue attempts had failed. The hostages would be executed in 24 hours. This is a test, Minyu told his team, and 3 other warriors, and we do this right, maybe the military listens. We fail, people die. They planned the operation together. Not top-down orders like traditional military, but collaborative strategy. Everyone contributed ideas. The infiltration happened at night. They didn't attack the main force. Instead, they cut power to the colony, created diversions, and used stealth to reach the hostages. When guards discovered them, they didn't fight honorably. They used smoke grenades and confusion. They fought smart. Set explosives that collapsed part of the building, cutting off reinforcements, found a hidden route through ventilation shafts, held a using cover and suppressive fire instead of charging. They rescued all 70 hostages with 0 casualties. The mission was a complete success. Word spread quickly. Other units wanted to learn. Minyu's methods were unorthodox, shameful to traditionalists, but they worked. Empress summoned Minyu again. This time she looked at him differently. You saved 70 lives, she said. Lives that our traditional tactics would have lost. We got lucky, Minyu said honestly. Perhaps, but you created your own luck through planning and adaptation. She paused. I have watched recordings of your training sessions. You teach my warriors to value survival over glory. This is difficult for me to accept. Why? Because the empire was built on glory, on strength, on warriors who would die rather than retreat. And how's that working against the? His expression hardened, but not with anger, with something else. Recognition, maybe. Not well, we're losing entire fleets. They don't care about honor. They swarm, they retreat, they ambush. They fight to win, not to prove their bravery. Then you need warriors who fight to win, Minyu said. I need to win this war, leaned forward. I need you to train more soldiers, expand your program, and I need you to plan our defense strategy. I'm not a general. No, you're something better, you're someone who thinks differently, looked at who stood beside Minyu. My daughter was weak once, sheltered. She knew ceremony but not reality. You changed that. She tells me you compare fighting to chess. Moving pieces, controlling space, sacrificing for advantage. That's one way to think about it. Then think about this chess game. They are planning something big. Intelligence suggests a major assault, possibly on Prime itself. If they win, the Empire falls. How do we stop them? Minyu spent 3 days analyzing intelligence reports, studying tactics and planning. It all came down to one target, Warlord the commander. He led from the front, coordinating all major operations. We kill him, Minyu said. The command structure is centralized. Without, their fleet falls into chaos. An assassination mission, said. Possible but extremely dangerous. Suicide, another general said bluntly. We'd need to infiltrate his command ship. The security is impossible. Nothing's impossible, Minyu said, just difficult. He laid out a plan. A small team would steal uniforms and credentials. They'd board during a shift change when security was most chaotic. They'd fight their way to and eliminate him. The team probably won't survive, Minyu admitted. This is a one-way mission. I volunteer, said immediately. No, Empress said sharply. You're royal, you can't. I can and I will, interrupted. Minyu taught me that leadership means sacrifice, that every life matters, including mine. I won't ask warriors to die while I stay safe. Mother and daughter stared at each other. Years of distance, years of cold political calculation, all laid bare in that moment. Finally nodded, very well. The team assembled, Minyu and 6 warriors against a ship of thousands. They spent a week preparing, studying language and customs, planning every detail, saying goodbye to people just in case. The night before the mission found Minyu alone looking at the stars. Do you think we'll survive? She asked. Honestly, probably not. Then why are you doing this? Minyu thought about his mother, about the colony he failed to save, about all the people who died while he lived. Because it matters, he said. Because if we don't try, millions die. If we do try, maybe we save them. That's enough reason. Moved closer. When I first met you, I thought humans were weak, emotional, irrational, inferior. And now I think you're the strongest people in the galaxy, because you feel everything and you still keep fighting. You love people knowing you'll lose them. You sacrifice knowing you might fail. That's not weakness. That's courage. Your mother didn't teach you that. No, agreed. You did. You're more of a mother to me than she ever was. You saved my life, but more than that, you taught me how to live. Minyu felt tears in his eyes. Would have liked you. Tell me about her one more time. So he did. He told about his mother, about her kindness and strength, about how she loved without limits and helped without expecting anything back. And as he talked, Minyu realized something. He had been running from his mother's death for years, trying to make up for the people he couldn't save. But maybe the real way to honor was this, teaching someone else to carry forward her values, creating ripples that would spread across the galaxy. Tomorrow they might die. But tonight they had purpose. And that was enough. The command ship was massive, a city in space. It held 10,000 soldiers, hundreds of fighters, and enough firepower to destroy planets. Somewhere inside, Warlord commanded the invasion that would end the Empire. Minyu and his team floated in space, wearing stolen armor. Their stolen shuttle drifted among the debris of a recent battle, just another piece of wreckage. Status check, Minyu whispered into the comm. Ready, replied. Ready, said, and in sequence. Ready, finished. Remember the plan. We're maintenance crew doing repairs. Keep your heads down, don't make eye contact, and move with purpose. Questions? Just one, said. If this works, drinks are on you. Minyu smiled inside his helmet. Deal. They docked during shift change, exactly as planned. The security scan checked their stolen credentials and waved them through. So far, so good. The inside of the ship was chaotic. Thousands of soldiers moved through corridors, preparing for the assault on Prime. Minyu's team blended in, carrying tools and equipment cases that actually held weapons. They made it to the central lift without incident. The command deck was 30 levels up. They stepped into the lift with a dozen other soldiers. Minyu's heart was pounding. One wrong word, one suspicious glance, and they were dead. The lift rose. Soldiers got off at different levels. Soon it was just the team and 2 guards. You're going to command level. One guard asked in language. Emergency repair, replied, his accent perfect. Power surge in Sector 7. The guard nodded and looked away. They reached the command deck. The doors opened. Everything went wrong immediately. An officer was waiting, holding a data pad. Maintenance team, I didn't authorize any repairs. For a second, no one moved. Then Minyu acted. He dropped his tool case and shot the officer. The guards in the lift died a second later. Alarms blared throughout the ship. So much for stealth, said. Plan B, Minyu shouted. We fight our way through. They ran through the command deck, shooting anyone in their path. Soldiers poured from every direction. The team used everything Minyu taught them: cover, suppressive fire, grenades, controlled chaos. Took a hit, plasma burning through her shoulder. She kept fighting. Held a corridor alone, his rifle barking continuously, giving them time to advance. When his weapon ran dry, he used his combat knife. They reached the command center. The doors were sealed, reinforced, designed to withstand bombardment. The door, Minyu ordered. Was their explosives expert. He worked quickly, attaching charges while the others held off attacking soldiers. 30 seconds. 20 seconds. 10. Down yelled. The explosion was massive. The door blew inward. The team rushed through the smoke into the command center. Warlord stood in the center, surrounded by officers and guards. He was huge, even for a covered in battle scars and wearing ancient armor. Humans, and said, surprisingly calm. Clever, desperate, pointless. We're here for you, Minyu said. Obviously, but you're trapped now. My soldiers are sealing this deck. You'll die here. Maybe, but you're dying first. The fight was brutal. Guards were elite, the best they had. Went down first, 3 plasma bolts to the chest, followed, fighting until his last breath. Faced directly, the captain fought with honor, matching the warlord blow for blow, but was stronger, faster. He killed with a thrust through the heart. No, screamed. She attacked, using everything Minyu taught her. She fought smart, using speed over strength, targeting weak points, staying mobile, but was too experienced. He caught her with a backhand that sent her flying. Tried to shoot but was killed by a guard. It was just Minyu and now, against and a dozen guards. Your sacrifice changes nothing, said. The invasion continues. Prime will fall. Maybe, Minyu admitted. He was bleeding from multiple wounds, exhausted, but you won't see it. He charged. His blade caught him in the chest, piercing deep. Minyu felt the cold burn of the weapon, felt his body failing, but he had one explosive left, taken from his pack. He armed it with shaking fingers. Run, he whispered into the calm. No, I won't leave you. Please honor my mother's memory, live. Minyu grabbed, holding him close. The warlord tried to pull away, but Minyu's grip was iron, born from desperation and the knowledge that this was his last act. For, Minyu said, for everyone we couldn't save. Minyu, no, his voice broke. He smiled at her. She was standing at the doorway, bloodied but alive. That was enough. The explosive detonated. The blast tore through the command center, died instantly. Most of his guards died. The ship's command systems went offline. In the chaos ran. She grabbed Minyu's body. He was somehow still breathing, barely, and dragged him toward the escape pods. Soldiers were everywhere, but they were confused, leaderless. She fought her way through, carrying Minyu. Every step was agony. Her body was broken, her strength nearly gone, but she kept moving. Because that's what Minyu taught her. You don't give up. You fight for every life, every moment, every breath. She reached an escape pod and shoved Minyu inside. She sealed it and launched just as soldiers arrived. The pod screamed away from the dying ship. Behind them, the fleet was falling apart. Without coordination, the attack dissolved into chaos. Forces counterattacked, driving them back. The invasion was over. held Minyu as the pod drifted toward friendly ships. He wasn't moving. She couldn't tell if he was breathing. "Don't you die," she whispered. "Don't you dare die, not after everything." The rescue ship found them an hour later. Minyu spent 3 weeks in medical care. His injuries were severe. The blade had missed his heart by millimeters. He should have died. Maybe he wanted to. But human stubbornness, the doctors said, was a real force of nature. When he finally woke, the first face he saw was Knots. It was Empress. "You're awake," the Empress said. She sat beside his bed, looking older than before, tired. "Your Majesty," Minyu croaked. "I've watched the recordings from your mission, all of them, your team's sacrifice, your methods, she struggled for the word, your humanity. I lost them. They died because They died as warriors," interrupted. "They died saving millions. There is no greater honor in any culture." She was quiet for a moment. "I spent my life believing that strength was everything, that emotion was weakness, that a ruler must be cold, calculating, perfect. I raised my daughter with these values." "She's strong," Minyu said, "is the strongest person I know." "Yes, but not because of my teaching, because of yours," met his eyes. "You saved my daughter's life twice, once with your body, once with your soul. You taught her something I never could, that power without compassion is just tyranny. I just showed her a different way. You showed her humanity, and through her you've begun to change an empire." Stood. "The war isn't over, but we're winning now. Other units are adopting your tactics. Warriors are learning that survival and victory aren't shameful, they're essential." She moved to the door, then paused. "Your mother would be proud of you, Minyu. You carry her values across the stars." After she left, came in. She looked exhausted but alive. She sat beside him and took his hand. "You almost died," she said. "But I didn't. You pulled the same move your mother did, sacrificing yourself to save others. It's in my blood, I guess." His expression was fierce. "Don't ever do that again. Don't you dare leave me. I thought I was going home after this, back to Earth." "You can still go. The Empress will honor the deal, transport, payment, everything." Looked away. "But I'm asking you to stay, not as a prisoner, not as an employee, as family." Minyu felt tears forming. "Family. You told me your mother taught you that every life saved ripples outward. You saved me, and I'm going to save this empire. I'm going to reshape into something worthy of the sacrifice you humans make for each other. I'm going to teach them to value every life." She squeezed his hand. "But I can't do it alone. I need you, not as a teacher or a soldier, as someone who reminds me every day what really matters." Minyu thought about Earth, about going home. Part of him wanted that desperately. But another part, a bigger part, knew where he belonged. "Always said home isn't a place, it's people who care about you," Minyu said. "I think I finally understand what she meant." "So you'll stay?" "Yeah, I'll stay." Smiled, and for the first time since he'd known her, she cried. Not royal tears, carefully controlled. Real tears, messy and honest and human. Months passed. The war with the continued, but the Empire was winning now. Minyu's tactics spread throughout the military. The culture was changing, slowly but surely. Minyu became the strategic advisor to the Empress, the first human to hold a position in government. He trained more soldiers, planned more operations, saved more lives. But more importantly, he spent time with. They talked for hours, debated philosophy, shared meals, laughed at stupid jokes. She showed him culture, the parts worth preserving. He showed her human creativity, music, art, stories. She was reshaping the empire, one policy at a time. Workers gained rights. The caste system started to soften. The value of individual life became written into law. One evening, standing on a balcony overlooking the capital, turned to Minyu. "Do you ever regret it, saving me that first day?" Minyu looked at her. This alien princess who had become his closest friend, his family, the person who gave his life meaning after years of running from pain. Never, he said, not for a second. I wish I could have met your mother. I wish I could have thanked her for raising someone like you. I wish that too, but you know what? I think she'd understand. Minyu looked up at the stars, thinking about a woman he lost so long ago. She taught me that every life saved ripples outward. You're proof of that. You're changing an entire civilization because I made one choice to help a stranger. And I made a choice to listen to that stranger. We both chose to be better than we were. Smiled, Mother, you saved my life. Minyu looked at her, confused. I'm not your mother. I know, but you did what she never did. You fought for me. You taught me. You showed me how to be more than what I was born to be. That's what mothers do, isn't it? They save their children not just physically but spiritually. Minyu felt his throat tighten. Saved me the same way. Every day, through every lesson she taught, she saved me. And now, through you, she's still saving people. Her ripples are reaching across the galaxy. They stood together, human and alien, looking at the stars. Two people from different worlds, connected by the simple idea that every life matters. Somewhere in the universe, legacy lived on, in her son's courage, in his compassion, in the slowly changing empire, in every life they would save tomorrow. Every life saved ripples outward. And sometimes, those ripples become waves that change the galaxy forever. This was Minyu's home now, not because he was trapped but because he chose it, because family isn't about blood or species. It's about the people who save you, who teach you, who make you better. And in that moment, watching the alien sunset with beside him, Minyu finally understood what his mother had always known. The greatest legacy isn't what you achieve. It's who you help become.